This is a video that I've been toying with making for a while, and I know there are some people that have held opinions on this, but I think my opinion is, you know, it's what I think and it's what I want out there. I think the Daleks need a proper break. And if I'm honest, I'm not talking about, you know, a series. I'm talking about 5 years. I think we need a decent bit of time without them in the show. Now, I do have a couple of exceptions to this rule. The first is the 60th. No, I don't think the centenary special is a good enough excuse, but the 60th has to celebrate 60 years of Doctor Who. That is no mean task, and the Daleks are such a huge part of that, that no, like I've talked about this video, I don't want them to be the focal point. But if they show up for some form of cameo, or even, you know, extended a little bit, that's fine, because they're such a big part of the show. Now, I guess the big question is, why do I think this? And for that, let's look through some modern Dalek episodes. I think to properly explore why these characters need a break, we need to look at their history through the modern era. The first time the Daleks appeared in the modern era is Dalek. Exterminate! I mean, what an episode. There are quite a few people that recently have been calling this one overrated. That blows my mind. I do not understand in any way how that Dalek is a masterpiece. Dalek, arguably, the first time they appeared in Modern Who is the best time. Smashes it completely. Obviously, the unique part about this episode involving the Daleks is, you know, the one Dalek thing, and that's something I want to keep trying to touch on with each episode. What does each Dalek episode do uniquely? Then we get onto Bad Wolf and the Parting of the Ways. But you have no weapons, no defenses, no... Again, this works really well for me. I do actually have quite a lot of nostalgia for, you know, like the Big Brother and the Weakest Link stuff, but if you're to focus on the Daleks, Modern Who, one of the benefits of that is, you know, upping the budget, upping the scopes, and you think about it, you can tell now in the modern series a big Dalek story. That's exciting, that's cool, that's what these characters were almost designed for, to be a big threatening army at points. Then we go on to Army of Ghosts and Doomsday.
You are superior in only one respect.
What is that?
You are better at dying.
Now, obviously, this is a completely original, cool concept, because not only does it start to, you know, do some cool stuff with the Cult of Skaro, the idea of 4 Daleks that are designed to keep the race alive no matter what, but also Daleks versus Cybermen, while not amazingly explored in the episode, is such a cool concept, and if it could be done right, I'd love to see that revisited almost. Then we go into Daleks in Manhattan, Evolution of the Daleks.
I am a human Dalek.
I think this episode is probably underrated. A lot of people give this shtick, and yes, the pigs and all that stuff aren't ideal, but it's not the most original, because obviously we've, you know, had the Cult of Skaro previously, but it's enjoyable enough. But Series 4 obviously has Stolen Earth, Journey's End.
This is my ultimate victory, Doctor.
Now, for me, this is Avengers Infinity War before Avengers Infinity War. It's just incredible. Yeah, it's very easy to argue this concept was done before, at the end of Series 1, but not only... I think you can get away with doing big Dalek army stories sometimes, because, you know, that's kind of what Doctor Who deserves and needs sometimes, is just, Dalek's a big villain, you want lots of Daleks. Also, with the scope and scale of something like this, and, you know, like the reality bomb, I don't think you could substitute the Cybermen or the Sontarans into this and it be quite as impactful. There is something about the Daleks being the end-level threat. And also Davros. How has Davros not been used more in the series? Victory of the Daleks is an odd one. Some of the initial stuff around, you know, like the Daleks infiltrating, you know, the World War, and a lot of the stuff about needing to be recognised as pure Daleks, really cool. Yeah, The toy sales Daleks is a distraction, and from there the episode just tails off. Not for me, personally. Weirdly, Series 6 doesn't have a Dalek episode, which, on the one hand, I like because I think these characters need a break, as I'm about to get onto, but it feels weird to almost do a lot of the setup-y stuff in Series 5 and then do nothing with them in Series 6. It definitely felt like a reaction to the dislike of that design of Dalek. Series 7, with Asylum of the Daleks, is incredibly cool. A lot of people don't like this episode, but I think I've mentioned I'm a sucker for the Daleks, and they do a lot of cool things with the Daleks in this episode. Yeah, it feels quite out of place when looking at the events of Series 5 with the Daleks, but overall I quite like it. It's quite cool, and does unique things, which is what we need. Now, into the Dalek is class.
You are a good Dalek.
I think even though, yes, this is like a one Dalek story until obviously the other Daleks kind of come into it, but it feels very much like a construction of the Daleks. It has a lot of interesting conversations and is very well, like reflecting on Capaldi's Doctor and what that character ends up becoming, and it's a brilliant set-off for his arc almost, and I really love Into the Dalek. Now here's where we start to struggle a little bit. Because obviously in Series 7 we had Asylum, and now we've got Magician's Apprentice and The Witch's Familiar.
Davros. My name is Davros.
And yeah, you could argue this is more of a Davros story than a Dalek story, but I've never been a fan of this two-parter. I think Missy, whenever she shows up, ends up sidelining everything else almost, and I wasn't fond of this one personally. Again, when talking about new things to do with the Dalek, this just doesn't do anything new or interesting with the Daleks. Series 10, apart from cameos, takes a break. I'm fine with that. Now, Resolution to me is the final good Dalek story. I think this kind of does a similar-ish thing to Daleks. It's not, like, incredibly unique, but it kind of takes, more of the horror into it. I love the idea of the Dalek out of its shell, and, like, the finale isn't great and kind of loses a little bit of momentum, but Resolution overall as a Dalek story works really, really well, and I think it was exciting to see what Chibnall would do with the Daleks at this point. Now, for me, Revolution was just a mishmash of everything.
And I do not surrender. Exterminate!
It has some of the Series 5 problems, the Daleks like infiltrating. It has a lot of the epicness of what Russell tried to do with the Daleks, and it even does Daleks versus Daleks, which is something the 7th Doctor did. For me, it's something that is enjoyable for some of its elements, but overall just lacks much originality, and it's not for me. And I know a lot of people like to use the Daleks for...
Analysis concludes this is a delaying tactic.
Took you long enough.
As a sci-fi fan, I've watched quite a lot of these time loop stories, and I didn't really think it was like that interesting. It just didn't hook me. It felt like Chibnall had, tried to, like scale it up, and it really didn't work, and they tried to scale it down. That was the problem. Unfortunately, it did feel like a COVID special because of budget. So now you're asking, why have we gone through all that? Well, I think I've presented to you there that we've done a lot of the interesting ideas. I don't think there's much original ground that the Daleks have at the moment. I mean, I like Asylum, but most people don't. Therefore, if you look at the last 10 years of Dalek appearances, Into the Dalek is quite good, Resolution's quite good, some people quite like a couple of the other Jodie ones. The Daleks haven't had much good over the last 10 years. I think for me these days, whenever the Daleks come on screen, I'm not excited anymore. They're the most iconic villain and I should be excited. Doctor Who has such a great back catalogue of villains. That's why I was so excited where in the Flux the Sontarans showed up, and now we're getting Sea Devils. You can do all these characters. Not every story has to be a Dalek story. Now, if Russell can find a creative way to bring the Daleks back that feels new and fresh and isn't just a rehash of what's been done before, brilliant. I will be really excited for that. But if he can't, that's fine. Writing is tough. And guess what? There are limited ideas for characters like this. I've gone through New Who, but like the entirety of Classic Who also exists that also kind of ran these characters into the ground. What I'm trying to say is, if Russell has a new creative idea that will bring excitement back to the Daleks, brilliant. If not, use the rest of the Whoniverse, give us a break, and then when they come back, the excitement will be huge. People will be interested in these characters again. There'll have been enough time, we can have a new creative idea, and the world will be sunny. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see some more, these are some Doctor Who spin-offs I think need to happen in RTD2. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.